All right, guys, how you doing? Merry Christmas. Oh, Christmas Eve. Oh my God, I'm gonna get in an accident if I'm not careful right now. Isn't that beautiful? The old Boston Bridge. This is Boston for you. I was trying to get you guys the Boston Garden there, but I missed that one. If you guys ever seen The Town, it's based in out of Charlestown with Ben Affleck that robbed the banks. Everybody works at Boston Sand and Gravel, and they think they got dirt on them, but they really got nothing. That's Boston Sand and Gravel right there. There's Charlestown, Bunker Hill Monument. If you guys can see that. See that? I don't know if you can see that well. And then Bunker Hill Community College, where I went for 2 years for psychology. Let's see. Yeah, just I don't know. I just finished my Christmas shopping. I'm like really in like the holiday. Oh, there's Bunker Hill Community College. I don't know if you guys can see that. That the lights that are lit up. You might not be able to read the letters, but that's Bunker Hill Community College. That's in like Goodwill Hunting. A lot of you guys know Boston by movies, so I figured that's the best way to kind of. And this is like this whole thing right here. This was the Big Dig. If any of you guys ever heard about that, I mean, basically like the mob took over and they kept messing up. It ended up being one of the most expensive projects ever done in a city. As far as like they basically like redid all kinds of roads, and they just opened up. We always used to be against casinos, and this is Shras. My mother used to work there, but I actually worked here for a couple of months. They just opened, and I worked here for a couple of months part time. It's the casino Encore, and that's in Everett. Which, if any of you guys like Joe Shields, you probably know. I lived in Everett for a little bit, right on Broadway. I don't know, just showing a little bit of scenery. I'm like really in the holiday mood this year. I really am. I just, I think obviously the reason is that Olivia now she's going to be 3. Let's just say she's not going to be 3 tomorrow on Christmas yet, but she will be 3 before 2020, so before the new year. So we kind of like, instead of like Christmas shopping is stressful enough, just the money. I actually got my cable shut off, but you gotta choose your priorities. As long as the rent's paid, the phone bills are paid. The only thing that sucks is the Wi-Fi. So I'm trying to figure out a different way. I was thinking about just getting the same exact service in Xfinity under Amanda's name, and just doing it that way. But she's kind of like, well, I don't want it under my name. And I'm like, what? What do you mean you don't want it under your name? You know what I mean? Like everything's under my name. Like you can't have one thing under your name. So I don't know. And then here's actually where I went to high school right there, Medford, Malden. That was the rivalry. I went to Medford and we played Malden, whereas I grew up in Somerville, Charlestown. Despite other people saying otherwise about stuff like that, lived in Everett, all those places. But it's basically like the Winter Hill Gang. If you guys ever heard the Winter Hill Gang, Whitey Bulger, although the real Winter Hill Gang was actually led by Howie Winters, who actually my father knew very well. We lived, I don't know, some of the people from New England might know this, but we lived like, if you guys knew the Star Market, right in dead center Winter Hill, Broadway. Not the Broadway Everett where I lived when I was a little bit older after the military, but like growing up before high school, like middle school and elementary school. Went to the Winter Hill Elementary School as well. Is that a car? No. And then just that's not even the point of this video. I just wanted to kind of talk to you guys, say Merry Christmas. But because of the scenery, I was just about to get the TD Garden, because right when you're getting nostalgia, you go TD Garden, boom, you get the TD Garden, where the Celtics and Bruins play. And just as I was hitting live, I drove past it, but at least I was able to get the Zakum Bridge. But anyways, yeah, so that's where I went to high school, and I'm giving a lot of information because I have nothing to hide. I always been straight up. But believe it or not, all those tough cities. Now we're talking like organized. A lot of for instance, like Medford, Everett, Revere, Lynn to a point. Predominantly Italian. However, you obviously have a lot of Irish. I mean, almost as much Irish, but I would say a little bit more Italian. And then you got places like Malden, Somerville, Charlestown. Lived in all three of those places too. That's predominantly Irish. Now, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of Haitian. They have a lot of, Salvadorians, Vietnamese, Everett as well. And then Chelsea for sure. Chelsea's like a third world country. You know what I mean? It's literally a third world country. Like, if you're a white dude there, they just point you to the pawn shop. They don't know a lick of English. They point you to the pawn shop because they assume you're a drug addict. I mean, if you're a white guy in Chelsea, you're assumed to be a drug addict. That's the sad truth, to be honest with you guys. And then afterwards, like I told you guys that. Now, first of all, when I saw someone write a comment like, "Oh, when Matt got out of the Navy, he got out of the Navy because of drugs." That is not. I've been very honest, and that is not the truth. That's not true at all. And this video is not even supposed to be that. But this is something that I really believe in, and I talk about it at the PTSD groups in Worcester all the time when I was working there as a peer counselor. Your environment really shapes you. Like, when I was growing up around solid dudes, and it wasn't just solid white dudes. Our crew was like the United Nations. I mean, I could show you probably like 1,000 pictures of us all just. And the thing is, we were knuckleheads. We did crazy stuff, but we didn't do low-level shit. We did high-level shit. We were all driving, one would have a Lexus, one would have a Lincoln. One of my boys had an S600 for his first car when he was 16. And these are the ages I'm talking about. 14, 15, 16, 17. Then 17, I joined the Navy. Now, 15, 16, I experimented with Percocet, and OxyContin was starting to come around. But I didn't get that deep into it, but I did experiment. Went in the Navy, and when I was in the Navy, I was in Pensacola, Florida, Great Lakes, Illinois, Pearl Harbor, Hawaii. Although it wasn't really Pearl Harbor, it was the middle of the island. I always tell you guys about the underground base that's like underneath a pineapple field in a mountain. It's like 3/4 of a mile in, about 12 checkpoints. It's an NSGA. That's the hat I wear, by the way, NSGA Kania. Now it's NSGA Hawaii. And it's funny, and then Pensacola, that's where I did my training. And by the way, I ordered my military records just because I want to clear some things up. You know what I mean? I was top of my class A school, top of my class C school. So just in case anyone has any questions, I just want to make sure that people understand that's all legit. Top secret clearance, not just top secret, TSSCI, sensitive compartmentalized information. Top secret, sensitive compartmentalized information clearance. And then out of all the CTs, there's only one CT that needs even an extra layer, and that's the CTR, which is collection. And, that's basically collection. You listen in, you gather intel, analyze, prioritize, and you do make decisions. Now, you're not the one who makes the final decision. You make a decision, you make a recommendation to a chief. That chief looks it over. He does the same exact thing as you, except on a higher level. He turns it into a lieutenant. That lieutenant basically makes the decision and just gets an okay from maybe not a captain, maybe a lieutenant commander. Because the captain's usually the CO. And the captain would be a CO, and then the commander would be the XO. So they're involved in everything. They have the whole big picture. They're the people who know the whole big picture. The whole point of having a sensitive, compartmentalized information clearance is you know what you need to know. Like, I had to know how to break codes. Once they were broken, to decide what I thought the priority was of it, based on what had been going on and some other certain factors I can't talk about. And one thing you definitely don't talk about is equipment, methods, procedures. I mean, outside of like the simple stuff I just said, but the actual methods, procedures, and all that, you don't speak about that. And you use the chain of command. So yes, when people get hurt, you do have guilt. I didn't have a gun. I didn't have a gun shooting at people or people shooting back at me. That's a different type of PTSD, and those veterans, they've gone through hell. And I think we need to look stuff out of California that's really disgusting me. And there was just another Green Beret killed in Afghanistan. And all they're supposed to be doing, well, officially, all they're supposed to be doing is training the Afghani soldiers. But, they end up involved with protecting oil fields, although Italy did send up a whole bunch of people to protect some oil fields. So Italy's a great ally. But, that's 4 this year. 4 Green Berets. And guess what? All 4 were from the same place. I want to get this right. Is it called not Sandusky, but it's like a 2-word city. And if I'm not mistaken, it's in Ohio. And if it's not Ohio, it's like right there, like Midwest. But I think it's actually Ohio. And all 4 Navy SEALs were out of there. And what their job normally is, it's called like not Sandy Hook, obviously, but like Sandy Dusk. I don't know. You guys can figure it out easy. Just look up the Navy SEALs, look at their detachment, where they were stationed out of. And then each and every one of them was stationed out of the same place. And what they were told their job would be, and what their job description was supposed to be, was Europe. So, despite them being told that Europe is going to be, the theater that you'll be operating in, and as a Green Beret, I mean, even though there's not war right now in Europe, although, it's a little sticky in certain places, with Ukraine and all that. Even Turkey. I mean, although Turkey's kind of like the entrance to the east as well. But Turkey's still considered, it's still a NATO ally by a thread. But it's a NATO ally. But there's a lot going on, guys. I want to wish you all a Merry Christmas and Merry Christmas. And if you're not Christian, then, for instance, I know a viewer that's not Christian. Oh, sorry about that. I know a viewer who's not Christian, and I'd like to wish them a happy Hanukkah. I mean, I don't understand the whole happy. I understand, it's so inclusive. And that's great, because it sounds good, and that's, it sounds like good intentions, but when it really comes down to it, it creates division. It kind of undermines what we're all about. We have Netflix, their new special, by the way, Obama, he's basically like the owner of Netflix. He bought such a big share of that company. He's basically like the owner of Netflix. And sorry, I say a Snickers. I had a piece of Snickers here the whole time. Why didn't no one tell me? So, and they have this. I'm kind of like rambling, but honestly, I have so much intel to put out. It's just I have like, I got to be Santa tonight. I got to do all this. Anyway, so, but a few things that I just have to talk about with those Navy, not Navy SEALs, I'm sorry, Green Berets. And that's what happens, It's kind of like the Marines go in, kind of like at the beginning. But when you're there long term, it ends up being usually Army. Marines as well, but predominantly Army, Special Forces, Green Berets. I would say that they have the most dangerous job in the military is Green Berets right now, because we're in a situation, especially before, where we're basically occupying these places, and they are the Special Forces of the Army, which is the branch of the government that is best suited to kind of police a country. And Obama and Trump trying to get out of there. And, Republicans used to be the one that wanted war, right? And Democrats hated the war. Now it's the other way around. It's unbelievable. And the only reason they're against it is because it goes against a lot of the big money they're making with the military-industrial complex and with their lobbyists, because they become so corrupt. But also, simply, they just hate Trump. And if Trump's for something, they're against it. But anyways, let me get back to what I was talking about. So, all right. So I talked about the Navy SEALs, and where they're supposed to be out of Europe, but they're actually, oh, okay. Do you remember? Now, yesterday I came to you all, right? And I said to you, every single time I tell you guys, listen, this is legit intel, but this is what they told me. Well, there were some murmurs about it. I had read some stuff, so it wasn't like totally crazy, but what's happened since has shown me that it all makes sense what they were saying. They said their biggest fear and what they were worried about is a launch. They said, I was like, what do you mean a launch? And they couldn't get into it any further. They said a launch with a payload. Now, I interpret that, and I think you would as well, a payload meaning, they're not just launching a rocket or a missile. There is, a bomb, some type of weaponry and delivery device on board. So, when that was told to me, I mentioned that last night. If you guys want to go watch the last video, it was a great video. We had a great caller, Tony, great call. We talked about God for 2.5 hours, and we talked about all different denominations in a very open way and respectful way, and it was just a very cool vibe. I liked it. But at the end, I just had to give you that intel. I said, listen, I did get some intel, but it's like, I don't know what to make of it, but they're worried about a launch and a payload that comes with that launch. Well, since then, before then as well, North Korea has been promising that the United States is going to decide what type of Christmas gift we are going to get. And now North Korea, what they do is, they have all these fake actors, they have all this BS going on. 99% of the stuff that's going on is fake. But when they make a direct threat like that, there's been times that they haven't followed through. But their track record is pretty. When they make a direct proclamation, they usually follow through, unless the action that they are requiring or something close to it happens to, kind of, steer it in a different direction. So North Korea is talking about that, and then sure enough, there's talk about them potentially doing some type of, and we all talked about, if you remember from a couple weeks ago, there was some type of test that North Korea did that was so alarming to the U.S. military that even North Korea knew it was so bad that they were like, if you attack us, we will basically give you everything we got. If the U.S. attacks us, we will right away basically shoot missiles at us. And I don't mean to scare people on Christmas, but this is the intel I'm getting. And you know what? It's days like Christmas when everyone's distracted that some of the craziest stuff happens. I mean, we all know that, right? Like they create distractions. I mean, think about the lengths they go to with FFs and, the things that they're willing to do to create distractions. Even this whole impeachment process. Now all of a sudden they're holding the articles of impeachment. They're just trying to buy time for these indictments. They're trying to find a way out of it. Unfortunately, there's not going to be a way out of it. And like I said, I do plan on doing a video tonight, but I want to touch on some of these points. So, with North Korea making all those threats, something that was not really heard by many, the United States of America, well, in particular the U.S. Navy, conducted a major weapons test with a weapon that is unknown. It's an unknown weapon. Nobody knows what this weapon exactly is. And it was tested in the Pacific Ocean today. If it wasn't today, it was yesterday, but I'm almost positive it was today. It was like, because the first report came out at about 1 p.m. I don't know if that's Eastern time or Pacific time, but it said 1 p.m. I was reading like different articles. They were all around like 12:45 and 1 o'clock. I don't know if that was Eastern time or Pacific time, but the U.S. Navy conducted a test with a weapon that is unknown. They do not know what this weapon is. It's totally top secret. Nobody really understands what this weapon exactly is. And this is when they decide to test it in the Pacific Ocean. And I told you guys weeks ago that whatever they did in North Korea, the fact that all they were worried about was us bombing them, that was the tell. That was the big tell. Because that's the tell where you know that whatever they did was so successful and so alarming that an all-out response was potentially going to happen or was being planned by President Trump and the Secretary of Defense, and obviously the U.S. military and U.S. Navy, of course, as it turns out. So that was a tell for me, and I called it right away then, and I stick by that. And then getting that intel, and that was the only intel I got. That it was there was no more to it. I'm worried about a launch and the payload that comes with it. And then all of a sudden, we have heard about this whole thing about, you decide what kind of Christmas gift you get. But that rhetoric has started to intensify. All right, this is all legit, folks. There's so many. I literally have 3 pages of just notes, and each one is its own thing. It's like there is so much going on right now. But I just wanted to, while I was on the road, first of all, I was going by the TD Garden. It was a nice view. I missed it, but I was able to get the Zachem and some of the old neighborhood. And by the way, after that was like a solid neighborhood. I loved growing up there, and it was a rough place, and you had to be tough. You had to learn how to fight, or basically just get ran over. But to be honest with you, despite all that, despite the military, nothing could prepare me. And anyone from New England knows what I'm talking about. The second biggest city in New England is a place called Worcester, Massachusetts. And I moved to Worcester, Massachusetts. And this is way after the Navy. And that's when I got into drugs. When I say that I've been sober, it's going to be in March, 6 years I've been sober. That's why I really believe it's your environment. When I was in the U.S. Navy, I didn't have those type of problems. It was just, before the Navy, some problems, but, more so like, just young kid experimenting stuff. But then I really had a problem after my dad died, and then I had nowhere to live. Me and my girl broke up. I moved to Worcester. And then when I met Amanda, I got clean. That's how long we've been together, almost 6 months. I met her in March. Like literally meeting her is what got me clean. But anyways, it's so funny because some of the people who go against me, they are one of the only white people walking around in a city that used to be an industrial city, just like Worcester. Worcester used to be a huge industrial city. And before Worcester, I lived in Lowell for 2 years. And if anyone knows Lowell, I lived on the corner of Gorham and Appleton. I mean, Appleton was like known for the prostitution capital of New England. I mean, and just living in those places and growing up in those places, and not growing up in those places, but just living in those places, I just realized like what a disadvantage you're at. And basically, it's just not as much Lowell, but definitely Worcester. It is like a third world country. And there's nothing good about it, man. You do not want to live like that. The only white people who live there, and this is not about race, it's just reality. That's how it is. Like the layout of Boston isn't like other cities. Like the worst, like inner city, like actual Boston, you know, to live there, it's like $5,000, $6,000. You can never live there. You know, Cambridge, Mass, the rent's through the roof. I was born there because they have the best hospitals in the world and the best colleges in the world, MIT and Harvard. I'm talking about Cambridge. But, you know, it's these industrial towns like Lowell, Mass, Lawrence, Mass, New Bedford, Mass, Fall River, Mass, Taunton, Mass, Worcester, Mass, even like Fitchburg, Mass. I couldn't believe it. Springfield, Mass. You know, all these places. And then a bunch of places in Rhode Island as well. And then you go to Connecticut. Connecticut, believe it or not, Connecticut has some tough spots. It's not near their capital, Hartford. No, it's down in the southern part, you know. Bridgeport, Connecticut, New Haven, Connecticut, places like that. I mean, those are the places where it's just crazy. It's like a third world country. They're very organized with their drug dealing. And if you see a white person, they're a drug addict. That's just the way it is. I'm sorry if that sounds racist. That's the way it is. As far as Worcester, the El Salvadorians took over the drug game from the Dominicans. The Puerto Ricans work for the El Salvadorians. As far I'm talking about the higher structure. All right, the El Salvadorians were running all that shit, and it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable, like what happens to these industrial cities, and like the churches. I like where I live now. It's a suburb. It's still a city, and it's not like a rich suburb, but it is a suburb, and it's nice, and I'm proud that I got out of all that shit. You know what I mean? It was hard, you know. I always had my own place. I always like managed to, you know, if I didn't have an apartment, I worked. I always tried to go to school. Always, especially when you got a girl, you know what I mean? And then especially when we had Olivia, you got to clean up your act. You know, work, do what you gotta do, and you know, just be a man. Before Amanda and before the baby, there were gaps where I didn't work for like 6 months at a time. But it happens, you know, even longer than that sometimes if I was doing drugs. But that life's way behind me. I don't know why I feel like I had to explain that stuff, but some things have been referenced and they're just not true. You know what I mean? Like Road to Prison came to my house and I wouldn't come outside. That is like, I don't even know, like, that's just like a made up thing. Like, I don't understand like where that came from. I mean, don't you think Road to Prison would be bragging about that? I can tell you for a fact, and Road to Prison, I think, is just as shocked when he heard Iggy say that. But I'm not even going to go at Iggy like that. I'm trying to do good content. But, you know, I need to represent where I'm from. I mean, to just act like, oh, he's just some suburban boy. You don't know. Man, listen, you know what I mean? Like Somerville Boxing Club. I was there 6 months when Johnny Ruiz was the heavyweight champion boxer of the world. And funny enough, now there's a different Ruiz who was the heavyweight champion, but he was Mexican, whereas Johnny Ruiz was he was Puerto Rican. He was the first Puerto Rican, and then they just had the first Mexican heavyweight. I mean, Mexicans and Puerto Ricans, and they're great boxers, but usually they're not heavyweight. Usually, the flyweight, featherweight. Okay, so but yeah, just a few things. You know what I mean? Like Lynn, Massachusetts. I didn't even mention Lynn, Massachusetts. Lynn, City of Sin. Once you never come out the way you went in. I mean, you gotta know the layout of Boston to understand what's the hood. The inner parts of Boston are not the hood. It's the cities around it. But then there's like a whole different layer when you start talking about the industrial cities, the places that used to be these industrial empires like Lowell and Lawrence and Worcester, and now they're just third world countries. It's unbelievable. Amanda couldn't walk down the street. Sadly enough, she couldn't walk down the street because right away they would be. It's really sad, and I hate talking about it, but it's the truth. I would have to walk on the sidewalk side, not just to be a gentleman. I do that anyways, but to let people know that she's not for sale. If you let the woman walk on the inside, not only are you not a gentleman, but when you're living in areas like that, it means that you're selling her. And if she's walking alone, then literally, let's say she takes a 5-minute walk to the store to get groceries. She'll get stopped about 5 times when we were living in Worcester. We haven't lived in Worcester for 5 years now. But when we were living in Worcester, 5, 6, 7 people, either with their car, or they would get out of their car, or they just walk past her. How much? And that's why we just had to get out of there. And then we were blessed. Well, first we thought we were gonna have twins, and unfortunately we had a miscarriage. And what's crazy is we saw, and to this day I regret this, I always think about it, we saw a psychic. No bullshit. We saw a fucking psychic. And the psychic told me that that Amanda was holding me back and that we were going to have twins. Well, that whole thing with her holding me back, that's not true. But Amanda always kind of held that inside. That's why you gotta be careful if you go to see one of these psychics. I don't know this is before I was born again, so I was open-minded about everything, but I think I dealt with some black magic that day, because then she also mentioned twins. Sure enough, Amanda got pregnant with twins. One died pretty quick into the pregnancy, and they say don't tell anyone that you're pregnant until 12 months. The second one had died by this 12 months, because once the first one dies, it makes it harder for the second one to live. It's a very sad thing, which is why when Olivia came along, and we were forget 12 months. We waited till 16, 18 months, and then finally all right. And then we started telling people. And it's been the best thing that ever happened to me, And with this YouTube stuff, sometimes it's hard to separate, trying to be as open as I can with you guys. I try to tell you guys as much as I can about my personal life, while at the same time exposing truth to you guys. But I've realized I have to keep things close to the vest. There's people that are just out to take anything you say and use it against you. And I don't know, I think it's fucked up, but it's just the way it is. I mean, when it comes to Adam, I'm like that with Adam. So, maybe I'm a little bit of a hypocrite in that way. But what I do know is when I talk about Adam, I only talk about things that I know for sure are a fact. I never assume, I never connect dots. that, if there's a link, just connect the dots and assume. They never do that. And that's kind of what caused this whole blow up. But this video has nothing to do with talking about the blow up. I just wanted to honestly get that information out to you about what's going on with some of these missile tests. It's something to keep an eye on, and I hate to bring you that type of information on Christmas, but I think it's significant. I think it's important, and I was pre-warned. So when you're pre-warned about something that big, and then you start seeing in the news, yeah, it's time to pay attention. So I would pay attention to that. There's also there's a whole bunch of stuff going on, and like I said, after I play Santa, I'm not literally gonna play Santa, I have a whole plan. I'm so excited because this is the first year that she can actually like imagine and understand. Like you can tell her like Santa's coming. He knows if you've been good. He knows if you've been bad, and he's gonna come and he's gonna bring toys. And then we went and took pictures with Santa, and and he said, "What do you want?" And first she told him, "You want cookies?" And he was laughing, and then she said, "I want." He goes, "What do you want for Christmas?" She said, "I want all the toys." He goes, "Any toy in particular?" And she just said, "All the toys." So yeah, that makes my job easy. And especially where I don't, her birthday is only days later. So it's like, and I shouldn't even say that, but I hope that people will, hey, listen, stop don't talk about my family anymore. All right, guys? That's not cool. You don't do that. It's not right. It's not right. My family's done nothing to nobody. Okay? Like, and there's one person in particular, I won't even mention their name. It's so bad what they've said about my family. With blatant lies. I mean, it's like so obvious that they're just saying anything. Beware of people who have so much hate towards somebody that, all of a sudden they have all this expose and all this information. And like, I'm not going to say this kid's name, but, it's always something new with him. Oh, and he faked this, and he did this, and his girl this, and his baby this, and his house this, and his record this. When someone like has like a certain hate, they're gonna connect dots and make stories where there's no story. They're just gonna like go for anything they could think of. That's not how I do it. If I think that somebody is taking advantage of their audience, and I think that they're being misleading and they're working in deception, especially since I've learned a lot about deception as far as like in the military and just simple tactics. I'm not like any that was never part of my like that's more human, like human with an int at the end, human intelligence. That's more like CIA type stuff, but you do learn a little bit about it, that you can tell if someone's lying by certain tells, and, just small stuff. But what I dealt with was signals intelligence. So, I'm not an expert at it, but I can spot, and it's not just me, a lot of you guys can spot deception when you see it. Kind of like rambling, going all over the place, but I guess the point of this video is I just wanted to share with you guys that it's so cool right now. Like, although I'm talking about like some negative stuff, stupid internet stuff, but even more, really, that's just stupid, whatever stuff. I hope that stuff's done. But really, this stuff with the missile and the fact that I was told there's going to be a launch and they're concerned about the payload. And then an unknown missile was tested in the Pacific Ocean. Nobody knows what type of weapon it is. It's a top secret weapon, and it was just tested in the Pacific, and it was successful. While at the same time, North Korea has been threatening since before I got this little nugget of information. And there's some people right now at home rolling their eyes saying, "Oh yeah, you had a source." I swear on my father's soul, I have more than one source, and they're 100% legit. and I protect them like I protect my own family. And that's the way you get sources. You put them above all. All right, so I mean, I don't even have to say that. The proof's in the pudding. Look at how many things I've called out. How could I guess when nobody knew that 2 girls were getting raped for days, when everyone thought they were all killed, or the young boy saved a couple of the kids, but there were 2 grown women getting raped for days. No one reported that, and I felt stupid saying it, but it came true. El Baghdadi came true. Q coming back. They came to my Met channel. They came back. And one thing I was thinking the other day, I'm like, what is it lately with people like wanting to turn on me? And I hope I don't sound like I'm like bragging, because guys, I have nothing to brag. I have some experience with military intelligence. Yes, okay. I have experience with military intelligence. I like to think that when I look at a story, I have a certain way of analyzing it and breaking it down, and noticing the difference between a distraction and what's actually important. Although I'm wrong all the time. I can be wrong. I've been wrong many times. I've been right a lot too. I never want to sound like I'm bragging, but sometimes I hear myself like just right now as I was saying that, I'm like, you sound like you're bragging, like you're something above. I'm not above anything. I've been through some of the worst stuff, guys. I've been in some of the worst places. And that's why it really hurt me that like somebody who probably more, it's like almost like eerie, because it's like there's probably no one else on YouTube as far as creators who understands Iggy's life like I do, from when I lived in Worcester and Lowell, especially Worcester. I know what it's like to be the only white dude walking down the street, the only one speaking English, going around, speaking your broken Spanish to get drugs. I know that life. Shootouts, killings. I know what it's like in neighborhoods like that. There was always a killing. And then there was a church, St. Peter's, right across from my street, right across. And guess what they filmed there? Because you know who else from Worcester? While I was living there, this is when he was blowing up, Joyner Lucas. And then after I left there, he ended up filming that video, I'm Not Racist. If you guys know Joyner Lucas, yeah, the I'm Not Racist video was filmed in a church. You can look it up, church in Worcester, and it's my priest. It's like he looks like he rolls out of bed every morning, doesn't even touch his hair. He has white hair, and it's like everywhere. And he was being interviewed, and they're like, there's a lot of backlash about you letting that type of video be filmed there. And really, what it comes down to is the Catholic Church is dying. The only people that really go to Catholic Church anymore, like when I was there, they did all of the masses in Spanish. And then they would have 2 Spanish masses and then 1 English mass. And the English mass would just be a very small mass. It would be elderly people, me, and like a couple people that, would just, a lot of homeless people, stuff like that. But the masses that were actually like popping were the Spanish ones. It was the type of stuff where they would have like around Good Friday, they would have Jesus walk down Main Street. We're talking Main South Worcester, if anyone knows what I'm talking about. And they would have somebody that's supposed to be Jesus with his shirt off, with a loincloth thing, being whipped, like fake whipped, and he'd have to carry the cross, and he falls 3 times, and he's helped, and they do the whole story of his crucifixion. And I never seen anything like that until I moved to Worcester. I guess that's what they do in a lot of these like South American countries. And I don't like to see that, but what I do like to see is that they're actually celebrating the holidays that really matter. Good Friday. Obviously Easter is important, but what was Easter become? It's become something totally different. Christmas, all Christmas is, it's based on pagan it's a pagan holiday. And I hate to talk bad about Christmas because you know what? In my house, with my child who's going on 3 years old, there's Santa, and Santa's coming and he's bringing toys and all that. I'm not going to take that childhood from I'm not going to take that childhood away from my daughter. I'm not going to do it. But deep down, my feelings, we didn't take a tree, cut it down, and bring it to a house like the heathens, which is exactly what it says in the Bible, and decorate it with silver and gold, which is exactly, again, another thing they say not to do in the Bible. They say specifically not to go and cut down a tree decorated with gold and silver like the heathens and the pagans, and they specifically tell you not to do that. What we have is like this, like, you ever see Goodfellas? They got the white tree, the white Christmas tree. Actually, I used to have like a legit white Christmas tree. Me and my boy, we were roommates at one time when we were living in Everett on Broadway, and we had the white Christmas tree, like the Goodfellas. I don't know, we thought it was cool at the time. We were young. We were like probably 24 at the time. But anyway, but this one's like a tiny, tiny tree. Just, what, 2 feet tall? And we put it up on an end table, put a little thing under it, and then all the gifts will go under the end table and around the room and around the tree. And then we decorated all around the apartment with 3 sets of lights, and then 2 sets of lights, but very small ones. One is all white, the other one's like all different colors, all like like the rainbow colors, like multicolor. And those all go around the tree, along with candy canes, mini wreaths, a couple of mini balls, and then we have the stockings for us. And then Olivia has like this huge one. It's really cool, and it's actually attached to this like big like beaver stuffed animal. Her Mimi, which is Amanda's mother, got it for basically that's like her gift, I guess. It's a stuffed big, like a life-size stuffed beaver with a stocking. But at least it's something. And then and then Philly, our dog, has one as well, and she's gonna wake up to toys too. So it'll be fun. Amanda already got all her toys. She got the iPhone. She got this like special scarf that has a compartment for her phone. And she also got this like Bluetooth speaker that she can put in the shower, and she can listen to any podcast or music. And it's made to be waterproof and go in the shower, but in reality you can use it anywhere. If you're across the room and let's say she's doing dishes, she could just set it up in the kitchen and just listen to music or a podcast, whatever. It's like this like speaker thing. It's pretty cool. And then the last thing that I'm getting her is going to be, well, I'm not sure if I'm really gonna get it, but I was thinking about getting one more thing, only because, like an idiot, she needed a phone so bad because she lost hers. I just gave her all her gifts probably around like the 9th or 10th. I gave her all her gifts. So it's kind of weird, like not giving her a gift on Christmas. So there's this perfume she likes that I picked up. But now I'm thinking about returning it. I don't know what I'm gonna do. But anyways, I'm starting to just talk about whatever stuff now. But basically the point of this video, I just wanted to give you guys a heads up about the intel that I got. Also, I want to say Merry Christmas. But at the same time, I don't want to ruin it for you with this bad information about potential missiles being launched and the fact that the United States Navy is playing with the type of missiles that have never been seen by mankind without top secret clearances in the history of our species. So it's got to be some serious stuff. And imagine with AI implemented, I mean, imagine they could have found some different way to, just the atomic bomb, splitting the atom, boom. Who knows what they figured out. So that's alarming. But guys, just like we talk about FFs as distractions, holidays like Christmas can be a distraction too. Don't get me wrong. Spend this time with your family, especially if you're a Christian. Spending time with the family. But there's little things I think that you should keep in mind. Like in the Bible, you're not supposed to cut down a tree, bring it in your house. It literally says not to do that. Literally says not to do silver and gold on it. So I didn't do those things. So I'm kind of like cutting corners, but at the same time, I'm not going to take away Christmas from my daughter. I'm just not going to do it. Santa is coming tonight, and that's it. You know. I even thought about. We already got the cookies, homemade cookies. Actually, Amanda's making them right now. I'm just pulling up at my mother's house, and then we're going to my house. So we're gonna leave a couple cookies like half eaten with a half drink glass of milk. Just make it look like realistic. Like when I'm finished putting all the toys out and doing the bites of the cookie and the milk, I'll go ho ho ho, and then just run in the bedroom. I don't know. I'm just so excited. It's just so cool. It's like it's the think about that age. It's the first age. Last year she was about to turn. She was 1 going on 2. She wasn't old enough to understand at all. You know what I mean? She just she understood she was getting some gifts, but the whole concept of Santa, they don't start understand that until they're 2 going on 3. And that's where we're at right now, and I'm really having a great time with it. But like I said, there's a few things like for Christmas. Jesus, he was really born early to mid-September. All historians, that's not even debated. All historians agree on that. They could tell by the astronomy. I bet you they're watching me live. Like, this motherfucker, he better get in here right now. He's doing a live show. But yeah, I'll just finish up real quickly. But they could tell by the astrology, and because that star is present, they know that star is only present certain times of year. And also, there's some other literature. There's enough evidence that they're like positive. It's early to mid September. A lot of people think, hey, what if it's September 11th? So also, there's things like that. And then of course, Christmas is really Saturnalia. It's all based on the winter solstice. It's just all of Christianity is dripping in paganism. Yeah, they know I'm live. The ones that really matter are at times like Good Friday, and that's why it was refreshing. Even though it was like in a third world country, even though it's the second biggest city in New England, it's like a third world country, and we're watching this like they're like whipping Jesus, and they have fake blood and all this stuff. But they're really paying attention to those holidays. Good Friday, the ones that like really matter when he sacrificed for our sins. And I mean that's what it's all about. Yet we as adults get get lost in all of this. And I just if anything, I think the most important thing, if you want to take my word or not, spend time with your family, love your family. If you have children, give them the joy of Santa. Don't take that from them. I know that it's based on Krampus, and there's all kinds of bad shit behind that, but I just think it's really important to do that. I think it's a great thing. I didn't get upset when I found out Santa was fake. It's a nice thing. Now I'm sure that somebody could have a debate with me and debate me pretty well about that and bring up some great points. I'm sorry though. I'm just not going to take away that magical moment at this age from my daughter. But as an adult, I know exactly what this is all about. This is not holy. This is not holy at all. This is the time of year when everyone kills themselves. This is the time of year everyone's stressing out. This is the time of year that people are fighting. This is the time of year everyone's broke. This is the brokest I've been since I lived in Worcester, and I was like doing the wrong thing. You know what I mean? I wasn't doing the right thing. Literally the brokest I've been. Haven't had my cable shut off once. The bill, I couldn't pay it last, and now it's $400. I said, screw that. So, by the way, in comments, if anyone has any ideas, if I'm not able to put in her name and just get internet and basic cable, although I do like HBO, maybe get HBO. But if anyone, I don't know much about the Fire Sticks and things like that. So if anyone has any information on stuff like that where I could get the internet, but I could still catch, you know what I mean, some of the better shows. And really, the main thing is I can still watch my football. So if anybody has any information on that, I'd really appreciate it. You could leave it in the comments. And also, as far as for the chat, I apologize. I've been driving, so I haven't been able to read chat. I'm going to do a quick scan, and then I got to run in because I know that they know. Amanda must went on YouTube and saw I was live and told my mother, he's fucking live, but now he's in the parking lot talking, and he's talking about how we know he's live. I could just picture it. All right, so wow, a lot of comments. Okay, Joe Shields, LOL. Oh, I don't know what that was referring to, but you know the I don't know where you're from, Joe, but just by you're like a thorough solid cat, so I could tell like you're probably from that area. You're either from that area or see, I'm from like that area. That's like Greater Boston, but then there's like North Shore, and I'm not gonna say he's from there, but there's another very solid dude who's from up there. And then there's a lot of solid dudes from like the South Shore, like Dorchester, West Roxbury, kind of like the southern side of Boston. But actual like Boston, besides Mattapan and Roxbury, which are like 100% black neighborhoods, like Boston's extremely segregated. It's also one of the only places where you have like these almost not 100%, but like 80, 90% Irish or white or Italian neighborhoods. That's rare. I learned that going around the country. Inner cities are 100% black, unless it's Boston. It's just a weird thing. And the layout of Boston is very odd as well. The actual hoods are actually pretty far from the city. I think the worst. I think the worst is Worcester, but it could be Lawrence. Could be New Bedford, could be Fall River, could be Lynn. I mean, Springfield. I mean, these places are. And for people who don't even know New England, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. But all right, let me look at some of these. Wanted to ask Red Pill if he's in the know about the F-35 topic. Well, what exactly about the F-35? Because so they shut down the Boeings, right? And the F-35, well, they just came out with the super stealths. But there was a huge problem with the F-35s. The Japanese actually got screwed over with a few of the the uh, the the ones that were malfunctioning. But they're one of our greatest allies. I'm pretty sure that we ended up taking care of them. Um, oh, RFB's going live. Oh, cool. All right. Oh, and by the way, I feel so hard. RFB caught crap, right? Because Richie from Boston, I'm sorry, he caught crap for covering a video of me exposing stolen valor on this Uber driver. All of a sudden, just because someone says, that's a fake staged video. First of all, I don't have time to stage a fucking video with some Russian dude that I don't like. Really? You think I just met some Russian dude or know some Russian dude and staged a video? If I staged the video, don't you think I would have actually had him say, I listened to my Frugal News and love that show? I would have made sure he said that. That was my biggest regret about that, was because at the beginning, he was talking about channels he liked. He mentioned other channels. And the only thing I would say is misleading at all about that video is I put Frugal Fam. He never said I'm Frugal Fam. But he did say I am a fan of my Frugal News. He's also a fan of about 4 other channels that he mentioned. And he didn't bring up my Fugal news first. I did. Yeah, I don't care. I'll tell you the whole truth. So you know what I mean. So we started talking about YouTube channels because I was listening to YouTube. I started naming a couple. Then he named one, and then I said, "Do you know my Fugal TV or my Fugal News?" He goes, "Oh yeah, I love my Fugal News." And that's where that's So right then and there, I was like, "Oh, all right." Then he starts talking about the army. When he started talking about the army, and right away he's telling me like the most horrific story about his buddy and getting his leg cut off. It was like some crazy story. I was like, after about 10 seconds, I was like halfway even listening. That's when I was like, okay, this guy is full of shit because I know a lot of veterans. I work with veterans with PTSD, TBI, all that stuff. That is not how you don't just come out to strangers and just like get into that much detail unless you're trying to bullshit someone. So I started asking him. So then that's when I hit record. I held the phone down. That's why you have my leg. I started asking him questions and exposed his ass. And as soon as I got out of the car, where was I getting a ride to? Well, because about a month before that, Amanda had crashed my car. I was getting a ride to my mother to meet her so I could use her car. That's why I was getting dropped off at her work. So if you watch the whole video, you see me get out of the car. He goes the wrong way, so I end up getting his license plate, getting able to yell at him one more time. And then I walk over and you hear my mother start, my mother, she don't give a shit. She was just like, I did the salute and everything. She was like, oh, yeah, what the fuck is wrong with you? Are you an idiot? Look at you. You're an idiot. Like making fun of me for doing the salute and, Red Pill News Dispensary. She is so like, not awake. She's a total normie. So she just like, she makes fun of me when I talk about that kind of stuff. But that has nothing to do with it. But the whole point is, I got a freaking Uber ride to go get that car. And during the Uber ride, we talked about YouTube and one of the YouTube channels that came up, and I said it, and I said, you listen to, because he brought up one, and I said, you listen to my Fugal TV, my Fugal News? And he goes, yeah, I love my Fugal News. And at first, I didn't know if he was just like agreeing with everything I said, but I wish he did more calls. So that's when I knew it was legit. He never said I'm Fugal fam, but that's what he said. I love my Fugal News, and he did end up mentioning, I wish he did more calls. That's what he said. And that's the absolute truth. Cross my heart, hope to die on everything I love. All right? And then friggin' loses like snaps. And snaps, I've been trying not to say your name, so just keep my fucking name out of your mouth. I ain't talking about you. But you went after Richie. A bunch of people went after Richie from Boston. And I'll tell you something about Richie from Boston. That dude is one of the most legit. He is the most legit guy I know on YouTube. Because I don't meet all you people, all these other creators. I don't meet them face to face. I met Richie. People talk about prepping. He lives that. He's actually living that life. He lives that life where he preps. He opens up the back of his truck and it's amazing. He has anything you could think of. He is ready for any situation. Any situation. He's a legit prepper. And he's been at this and he's consistent. He focuses on many different topics, but he has, his certain topics where you could basically call him an expert in about 8 different areas where he makes sure to touch on that topic once every couple weeks. You know? I mean, and then same thing. The only other YouTuber I met was Anthony Patch. Now, some of the white paper stuff, I was like, but at the same time, as far as intelligence, as far as know-how, as far as listening to somebody who understands the science of what they're doing, he is so valuable to the truth community. And he knows his value. That's why he does the Patreon. And luckily, we met for coffee a couple times. So, he just lets me do. Actually, I shouldn't say it on air, but I'm a patron of his. Patreon of his. But I don't even know how to do Patreon. He just set it up for me. He's another one. I find him to be the most intelligent person that we have in our truth community. And with everything going on, all these distractions, and I'm not even talking about Christmas anymore. I'm talking about impeachments. I'm talking about all the BS. We are so focused on the wrong things. And there's going to be a day that comes where it's too friggin' late. But anyways, guys, I have family waiting for me. And I just wanted to I really wanted to make that point. Richard from Boston, what he did was cover a video that was 100% legit. My only regret is I wish I had, because I started the camera when I did, so it was too late. But I should have reiterated. I should have said, "Oh, so you were mentioning Fugal News before. Well, like, what's your favorite part about it? Like, at least get him to talk about it a little bit." But we had already talked about that. I turned it on as soon as he started talking about some crazy story about his friend getting hurt in the military. And I could tell it was BS. Didn't know what a D-214 was. It was all fake. You guys think I know some random Russian guy and I have him drop me off from my mother and I go through all that to fake it? Yeah, just like I faked the audio on another thing. Just come on. Guys, and then you say truth, yo. Let's really be about the truth. If your truth is only to bash other people and try to minimize somebody's life when they have gone through so many things, like there's so many things about Iggy's life that I probably have no idea about, that maybe if he shared, people would appreciate it more. But you know what? He's also going to open himself up to criticism from a bunch of people. Same thing with Snap. Same thing with any of us. But I try to be open. I don't know, guys. Anyways, I heard that Richard from Boston is about to go live. I highly recommend you guys go check that out. This is the Red Pill News Dispensary. I'm going to be checking in with you guys later with an actual show. Once I get to my house, I'll do it from the computer. And I have some mind-blowing information. I gave you at least some of the, at least what some of the source information I had. Stuff I could do off the top of my head while I was driving. But I have a lot of good information with, all referenced and proven thoroughly. That's the way I like to do it. I don't like to just say things. I like to talk about them, show the proof, go further. I'll even mention Q. Or maybe, you know what I might do? I might do a show. There's a bunch of news stories that the real news is not covering. So somebody has to cover these things. So I'm going to cover a bunch of news stories like that. And then I might do a show after that. Or it might end up being tomorrow. Or, it might even be tonight. Because I don't think I'm going to be able to sleep. I'm going to be so excited for her to wake up and open presents. And I might do a show just on the Q stuff. Because it is getting real. I have never seen Q like this. But anyways, guys, Merry Christmas. I hope you're having a great Christmas Eve. I might not have Christmas trees in my house, but for the first time in about like almost 2 months, maybe a month and a half, I have been enjoying some Christmas trees. And if that's your thing, I hope you are enjoying yours as well. And it's the Red Pill News Dispensary. You guys know what it is. Merry Christmas. Fuck that happy holiday shit. So if everyone has tried to say that to me, I throw that Merry Christmas right down their throat. And by the way, I'll read every single comment in here, and I'll address anything that is very interesting. Like if you wrote something and I missed it because I'm driving and talking, I will address it in the next video as far as like the chat or the comments. All right, let me give you another one. All right, that one sucked.